Most people are running through life without ever stopping to ask if they're running in the right direction.
We stopped.
Good day. My name is Juan de Dios Jara.
And I'm Christopher Marin. And this is a Growth and Development Group production. Sit down, pour something warm.
Because this conversation is for the individual that knows that there's more to them, but hasn't found the right room to talk about it yet.
You just found the room.
It is May 13th, 1:59 p.m. I'm here with my co-host,
Chris Marin.
and I, Juan Jara. And today we're going to talk about how you're parenting, outside looking in. Me and Chris don't have kids. So, obviously there's a whole part of this that we don't understand. But I think we can all agree that parenting is something that's important to all of us. Because those are the people that are going to decide the next generation. That is the next generation. And whether or not we recognize it or not, we're all playing a part in the development of the next generation. Which is why we thought it'd be a good idea to throw our 2 cents in. And whether or not you think they're valuable or not is up to you. So we're going to start with being a product of your environment and what that means. Do you have anything you want to add?
To being a product of our environment, what you said before.
Anything at all?
Yeah, so Juan mentioned neither of us are parents and we're on the outside looking in. What we can relate is that we were all kids at one point. So whether you're raised by your parents or a guardian, you had an elder who was bringing you up, right? So we're going to go in depth, the environment we were a part of or we became a product of. And so, yeah, it's just that understanding that we're seeking to become parents one day, and how Juan mentioned, for those who don't have kids, that this would be super impactful for you to prepare. How Juan and I are preparing.
Yeah.
And we want to bring this to you.
We were talking about this earlier. Having a child is one of the most important decisions you could ever make in your entire life for a number of different reasons. One being, whoever you have a kid with, you're tied to them for the rest of your life. Of course, unless you adopt, you have a surrogate or those circumstances. But most of the time, it's two people who decide to have a child together, or maybe it was an impulsive decision, or maybe, it was an accident, whatever you want to call it. But you're tied to that person for the rest of your life, even if they died. Because you had a child with them, there's a part of them that will be with you forever. Being a parent is a huge commitment. It is one of the only choices that most of us have in common. So, it's a really big fucking deal. So, yeah.
And with that, Juan, with being a parent and preparing before becoming a parent, right? We talk about this a lot. And there are many variables. So,
A lot.
what is it we're going to talk about later on, but just talking about what it means to be a parent, where we're thinking to ourselves, okay, there's as Juan mentioned, there's another parent you're co-parenting with. So there's that dynamic. Forever, yeah. Right? Forever. And so that dynamic that you have, whether it be you're a man with a woman with a man, that's forever. So there's that before you even have kids, right? And then before you even meet your spouse who you have kids with, there's preparation, right?
Yeah, I mean,
do you want to touch on that a bit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, my whole life, man, people have been telling me, oh, you're never ready. Oh, you're never prepared. You're never this, you're never that. But, I mean, I think that's kind of like bad advice, man. Like, if you give that advice to the wrong person, you know what they're going to do? They're going to go run out and have a kid immediately. And we know that that's not a good idea. You want to have your finances in order. You want to have your head in order. You want to have your heart in order. You want to make sure that you have good character judgment skills so you know who you're procreating with. That's a big deal. You want to make sure that you can provide an environment where they're going to come out the way you think they should. That's a big deal. You're never really prepared for everything, but there are people who are more prepared than others. That's the thing. If you're never prepared, then why not have a fucking kid when you're 14? But we're not going to do that because it's fucking dumb. We know it's dumb. We know it's dumb for teenagers to have kids because they're not prepared. You can be prepared, man. You won't be prepared for everything, but name one thing where you can be prepared for everything. You can prepare. Not for everything, but you can and you should.
And Juan, to talk on that preparation, we had asked, why don't people prepare to have kids? We touched on emotional maturity, right? So you can have your finances set in place, right? You can have your dream career. You can have your significant other. But if you're not emotionally mature, then then what type of kids are you gonna bring up?
Right.
Right? So again, you can have, on the outside looking in, we're looking, you have the home, right? You have a beautiful home, the square picket fence, the dream profession, all that,
Which you should have.
right? And what they say that you need to prepare for before you have kids. But what they don't talk about, how you ought to prepare before you have kids. Emotional maturity.
Okay, so like a good example of that would be like those kids who come from rich families.
Yes,
and
that's a
come
good
out like
example.
shit.
That's a good example.
We see it all the time. We see these people who have like, okay, I use my own life. My mom was a teacher, a very gifted teacher, and my father did well for himself financially too. When I was younger, I came out fucking horrible. I didn't have like a care in life, man. I was drinking and smoking and just just being an idiot all day long. Outside looking in, it would look like I had no reason to be like that. That there was just something wrong with me. But in my life, my parents didn't have the emotional maturity to help me deal with things that I was dealing with. So I had to deal with them on my own. And dealing with that kind of stuff on your own so young is very destructive. So my parents had good finances. My parents had good careers. My parents were stable enough to maintain their, appearances, but they didn't mature emotionally. They had never dealt with their issues. If you don't deal with your issues, how are you going to help your kids with theirs? Emotional maturity is huge, bro. And it's something you need to prepare. You need to really look at your life and ask yourself, have I dealt with my past? If you have not dealt with your past, all you're going to do is pass it on to your kids, which was exactly the case with myself. And that's rough, bro. I talk about that a lot in my work, man. The weight of generations, I call it. It's like it's very similar to coming into work and you see that the person who had your position before you did nothing that they were supposed to do. So now on top of all your responsibilities, you have to make up for all the things that they missed out on too. You can do that as a parent. You can pass on your generational curses. We know that. It's a well-known fact. You don't even need a study to know that generational curses are a real thing. If you do not mature emotionally, if you don't take care of your past, you will pass it on to your children. And they may not have the strength to carry that weight. So emotional maturity is huge, man. Very huge.
That's good, Juan. Something else we talked about, and it went into the question that I had asked. Why don't people prefer to have kids? And then, so say someone, you mentioned a good example with your parents with this, that I'm in love with this person. I'm infatuated with this person, right? When in actuality, what is it?
It's lust.
It's lust.
Yeah.
It's lust. So Juan and I talked about this, about being impulsive versus it being a plan, right? So you want to touch on that more about the impulsive aspect where, okay, it may be even a step further because you talked about pregnancies where the people are inebriated, where they don't even know the person or rape. But this is a case. No, I know the person. I love this person. I'm infatuated with this person. But in actuality, it's lust. So you want to talk on that?
Yeah. So the way we started talking about that is Chris had talked about an intentional pregnancy, but you weren't prepared, and what cases that would happen in. And so I kind of sat and I thought about it, and the only time I can really think of situations like that is teenagers. It's teenagers, man. The only time like you intentionally have a child without preparing beforehand is when you're emotionally immature. You're very impulsive and you're very young. We can see this in adults. We can see an emotionally mature adult with finances, a career, a house, stable, all that, and maybe they get drunker than they should have, and I think we can all agree that when you become inebriated, you enter a lower state of emotional maturity, right? And so in that emotional immaturity, they'll probably sleep with someone they shouldn't have and get someone pregnant that they barely even knew. So in adulthood, with stable adults, we see intentional but not really planned pregnancies when you're inebriated, but outside of that, we mostly see it with people who are emotionally immature, and it's usually teenagers. it's. I mean, I think, nah, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people can relate to at one point in time having this intense emotion for somebody. Just, oh, I need to have this person. I love them so much, you know, and you believe that intense feeling that you're experiencing is love, but you don't have the emotional maturity to understand that it's just lust. And so teenagers, and this happened to my parents. My mom and dad were teenagers when they had my eldest brother. They had him intentionally, but they had no plan. They ran away like out of state because my grandma didn't approve of their relationship, and then they had my brother, right? But they were teenagers. They conflated lust with love. Love is a conscious choice that you choose daily, and it's something that's developed over time. It's not something that happens like that. You will not. I mean, okay, maybe love at first sight is real. I've never experienced it.
Debatable.
Yeah,
Debatable.
yeah, it's debatable, you know, but love is most of the time built over time and a conscious decision chosen daily.
Right.
Lust is deeply impulsive because it's a super intense emotion. So a lot of times when these kids have kids, you know, unplanned, they're doing it out of lust, but in their minds, it's really misconceived for love. So, there's that.
Thank you for sharing, Juan. We can go back to now being a product of our environment. And I can speak on that.
Yes.
So, in my situation, I was raised by a single mom. God bless her heart. My dad, in and out of prison, majority of his life. My mom working graveyards when I was a kid up until 2020. It's now 2026. So, gosh, what she's been with the Geo company 28 years now. So more than 20 years my mom worked graveyards. So my brother and I, God rest his soul as well, my brother and I would, not all the time because we did grow up across the street from our grandmothers, but there would be nights, especially when we became teenagers, where we didn't have supervision. Again, my dad was incarcerated, my mom was working graveyards, and my brother and I, we didn't have supervision, especially as teenagers, where my mom thought, okay, they're older, right? They can take care of themselves. No. And so this is where we can really see where we become a product of our environment. Leaving kids unattended or leaving kids to the schools, right? My schools will teach my kids. My schools will take care of my kids.
School's a glorified daycare, man.
So, again, God bless my mom. God bless my mom. She was playing two roles, and it's difficult. That's why a dual parent household, and there's a lot of statistics with income, with how your children turn out, right? I've heard this, and I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. I heard this on the Fresh and Fit podcast. It said, fathers keep daughters off of stripper poles and sons out of prison.
It's true.
So again, my mom was playing both roles. So the point I'm getting at is I have difficulty trusting people now at this point in my life, and it's tough for me to, and I've gotten better with this, to create structure for my life, and then when structure is given in my life, being receptive towards that structure, so what I'm getting at is, and this is a conversation that I've had with my mom, and again, Mom, this is not to blame you, there was just not that structure, right, that's necessary with the nurture aspect. I know my mom loves me. She does want what's best for me. It's just, again, it's difficult. It's difficult to see that when you're
there.
Yes. Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at this point in my life. And I met with Joseph earlier, another brother, and I told him that it's affected my relationships, and committing and thinking that I'm going to make a mistake or I'm going to hurt this person, right? And so I've had difficulty in maintaining long-term relationships.
Fucking same. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the product that I am right now. And then this is good with awareness that I'm aware of it. Again, I'm not blaming my mom. I'm not a victim. It's just what I'm explaining and I've experienced. And yeah, just what has come about.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So for myself, being a product of your environment means the part of you that was nurtured. Word of the day, temperament. That's the part of you that's just born. It would be your nature. And I think people highly, highly overestimate how much of them is their temperament and how much of them is their nurture. Most people would say it's 50-50. Well, I would think most people would say it's 50-50. Bullshit. It's more like 10-90, man. Like you are so much of your environment, you don't even have a clue, honestly. Like there are characters who are exceptions. Those people who just, defy the odds. That happens, but most of the time people are products of their environment, man. And I can see that within myself because of my substance abuse issues. And you know what I valued as a teenager? Um, I remember being like 5 years old, and my dad would take me around in his Grand National with a roll cage. That shit was badass. And he would bump me like fucking NWA and like Cypress Hill. And I'm 5 years old. Now let's say if I went back in time and like I am as I am now, and I was my dad's sibling or something, I don't know. I'd be like, bro, why the fuck are you bumping NWA with your 5-year-old? Like, what are you doing? Like, you trying to turn this fool into like a robber or something like that? But I mean, that was my environment, bro. That's the kind of, and there was no censorship in my house. My mom would say you shouldn't watch that, and then leave. So I was like 10 years old watching South Park. Like a show a child shouldn't watch. So my father, he had really introduced me to like criminality and stuff like that unintentionally. In his head, he was just having a cool father son moment, and I understand that. My dad's he said this verbatim. I don't need therapy. I have beer. He's that kind of guy. You know what I mean? So in his head, it wasn't bad, and I don't hold it against him. I mean, it was a different time, a different era. But growing up like that, I admired criminality. I admired debauchery. I admired promiscuity. The more girls that you had sex with, the cooler of a guy you were. The more alcohol you could handle, the more manly you were. The stupid shit like that. And it was 100% because of the media that was allowed in my environment. That's what it was, man. It was the music, it was the TV shows, the movies, the video games, like all that stuff that I was allowed to ingest in my environment produced an individual who gravitated towards those things. So I was a product of my environment in the way that I really coveted criminality and outlawishness, whatever, and stuff like that. I'm also a product of my environment. I can be very verbally abusive. That's something I'm trying to work on. But that was just the way it was in my house. If my mom wouldn't yell at me, but she would say like really like fucked up things to me. Like I was 12 when she told me that she wouldn't love me if I wasn't her son. And then my dad would talk to me crazy. He would yell at me a lot. So obviously I put those two together when I got older, and that's something that I realized, man. Like I would make people hate me by the things that I said, and I didn't realize that was abnormal. I didn't realize it was abnormal to say things that made people hate you. I thought that's just the way things were because that was what my environment was. We really have no idea how much of ourselves is a product of our environment until we take the time to reflect.
Yes.
Until we take the time to reflect. And so you need to understand that when you have kids, it's gonna be the same thing. They're not gonna know how much of their environment is really impacting them. So you as the parent need to set up an environment when they look back on their life, they can be proud that they had that environment. Versus in my case where I'm spending like my entire adult life having to unprogram all those things within myself. You need to make sure that your child has a great environment. And it starts with making sure that you have a great environment. So that's all I gotta say about that. You want to move on?
Yeah, we can move on.
What you got?
We can move on. You mentioned the word reflect, and say that again. That was so good. What you mentioned right now is that
I say a lot of things. What I say
about reflecting to be able to
reflect on your childhood.
Yes.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't have kids yet, but I've always wanted an army, and I don't want my kids to like look back on their environment and see a bunch of things wrong with it. When they get older and reflect on their childhood, and one day they will, I don't want them to see something that was terrible. I want them to see something that was amazing. And that starts with making sure that you have a good environment for yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's a great reflection. Do you wanna touch on that exercise now about viewing yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
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 I don't remember who exactly told me this. I want to say it was Jordan Peterson. I could be wrong. But I think that he said something along the lines of, when your dog is sick and you take it to the vet, you make sure that it takes its medicine. But why is it when you are sick, you don't take your medicine? Because you don't love yourself like someone you're responsible for. And that's something I had to learn to do as an adult. I had to learn to love myself as though I was my own child.
That's good.
Parenting starts with
good,
parenting
bro.
yourself, man. You're a parent long before you have a child. Long before you have kids, you're a parent. And it starts... I got a text message. It starts with parenting yourself. You want to be a good parent? Start with yourself, man. Make sure you eat your vegetables. Make sure you're drinking your water. Make sure you go to bed on time. Make sure you're not ruining your eyes with screen time. You know? Make sure that you're doing all the things that you would make your child do. Parenting starts with parenting yourself. And I think that's a big reason why the world is the way it is, because nobody stops and thinks about that, man. It's like we treat our kids closer to pets rather than what they are, which is like a whole other person, man. And I think that you will never really be an effective parent until you effectively parent yourself. I don't have kids. That's just my 2 cents.
This is good, Juan. You got me thinking. This is good. So that there may lie the disconnect between a parent and their child, because a parent's telling their kids to do one thing, but the best way to live, the most optimal way, which is true. Right? Again, parents want the best for their kids, so they're gonna tell them, right?
They should.
Eat your bed. They should. You're right. They should. Well, and would you agree that, again, they should? But you have mentioned things that a quality parent is going to treat themselves as someone they were responsible for taking care of. So they're children, right? So what is it? You listed the things, a few things: eating their vegetables,
Yes.
drinking plenty of water, going to sleep early, right? Having a structured bedtime, exercising, right? Reading.
All the stuff you want to see your kid do, you got to do.
And so this is what I'm gonna say. So with leadership, this makes me think about leadership, right? Practicing what you preach. Because look, would you follow someone who doesn't practice what they preach?
Nope.
More than likely not, right? And if you did, you'd be misguided.
Yep. You'd probably do the same shit they do.
Mm-hmm. And there lies the disconnect, hypocrisy.
For sure.
Why? Well, my parents are telling me to do this,
But they're
they're not doing it.
Yeah. And then your kid's going to tell themselves, I know this is the right thing to do, and my parents know it is, but they're not doing it, so why should I?
Right. Patrick McDavid talks about this on the topic of parenting. We go through 3 stages with our parents. As kids, we idolize our parents. Our parents can do no wrong, which is not true.
Of course.
A second stage, we demonize our parents. As adolescents, right? And then the third stage, we humanize our parents. So talking about being parents and kids, right? A kid's gonna say, well, you said it right now. You said it perfectly. That the kid knows the right thing. A kid is innocent, right? So if a parent is telling the kid to do one thing, the right thing, but the parent is doing the other thing, the kid is gonna do what the parent's doing. Kids are sponges. They're absorbing everything, whether you're aware of it or not. So you better be aware of it.
There's a great country song that I love. I used to fucking hate country music, and then I started working at this gas station, and the radio was placed in a spot where it was kind of difficult to get to it, and it was stuck on a country station, right? And so it just kind of happened to me, and there was this song that came on, and I don't remember what it's called or the name of the artist, but I loved the message. It was this, I think it was like a farmer or a rancher or something like that. And he would go do certain things. Like he would pray and he would like clean up or fix stuff or something like that. And he would do certain things and then he would catch his son doing that thing, right? And so then the father would ask the son, well, where'd you learn how to do that? and it was the lyric that was repeated throughout the
Oh,
song.
bro, I'm getting goosebumps.
It was repeated throughout the song, and it said, "Well, I've been watching you, Dad." And every single time he caught his son doing something like that, he would ask him, "Well, where'd you learn it?" And every single time he would say, "Well, I've been watching you." You know, and it's true, man. I mean, whether we know it or not, they're picking up on our characters. You can't hide anything from them. They're connected to you. They are you. You are your children, literally. You are literally your children. You can't hide things from them. There's a connection there that science can't even explain yet. 100%. We can see it all the time. Like when a mom who's never lifted a weight a day in her life has an adrenaline rush and can pick up a fucking car, you know? Or like maybe like something my father and my older brother would do. My father claimed they had a telepathic connection, that he could think his name and then my brother would come into the room. Like he called him, you know? There is a connection between us and your children that we cannot describe. You can't describe it. It's something you have to experience yourself. And even if you did experience it yourself, most of us don't have the ability to articulate what's really going on there. Honestly, man. You are your children. Be the person that you want them to be. That's the best way to do it. Be the person that you want them to be and put them in the environment that you would want for them. And that starts with doing it for yourself. Be the person you want to be and put yourself in the environment you want to be in. Parenting starts with parenting yourself. Easier said than done. I don't have kids, so I don't know. I'm a pretty mean person. I don't think I'd be the greatest father right now, but that's a big reason why I don't have kids. So I don't know.
Wow, Juan. Thank you for sharing. It made me think about a specific example with my parents. And we're talking about, well, I don't think we touched on this subject of speaking to your kids about sex or how you even approach that. Because I had mentioned we leave a lot of things to the schools, to the government, to teach our kids. And so I have a specific example where... So, before I get into it, is it fine we go down this route?
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, okay. Have a specific example. So, when I was a kid, the time my dad wasn't incarcerated, he'd be around. My mom would allow him back in. And I remember going to Morro Bay. I believe we were doing a run. I've done runs in Morro Bay, and I believe in this instance we were doing a run. But anyways, we were all together in Morro Bay. We had a hotel. And I hear noises coming from the bathroom. And it's my mom and dad. And what do you think they're doing?
Praying.
Not quite, Juan. Not quite. They're doing something a bit more exciting than praying. My parents were having sex, and I hadn't heard these noises before. So what do you think I started doing, Juan? Let me ask you.
Freaking out? I mean, if you never heard them before, you probably think that like your mom's dying or something, right?
I think my dad is hurting my mom, and I
Yeah.
start crying.
Yeah.
I start crying. And so I bring this up to say, and this is good too, this will probably be another topic with sex itself, but sex is a sacred act, right? But here I am thinking my dad is hurting my mom. Why? I didn't have an explanation that sex is a sacred act, or that even...
You didn't even know what sex was.
Yeah, you didn't even know what sex was. Exactly. So I'm bringing this up to say that it's essential. And it's not easy. Again, this is probably why a lot of parents avoid the conversation, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not easy. It's a difficult conversation to have. But it's necessary. Because if not, well, use myself as an example, I'll think my dad is hurting my mom. And we can even tie this into pornography, right? People watch pornography. Men, I'll use men. And this is what women want during sex.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been through that.
So we view this again as, women, right, love to be or want to be abused or these sorts of things. But again, this is perverse, right? And so, to sum it all up, we have made sex perverse, right? Because for many reasons, but one of them being is that we're not talking about it from our parents to our kids. We're leaving it to
The schools.
Mm-hmm. And we see where that's getting us. You want to add on to that one? Or?
Yeah. I mean, to add on to Chris's point, one of my cousins, nobody had told him about puberty. So when he started growing hair in funny places, he freaked out. He's like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" You know? And I think you definitely got to know when to have these kind of conversations with your kid, man. I mean, you can't have them too early. because that's perverting itself.
Right.
You know?
That's good. That's
you can't
a good
have
point.
the conversation too early. You gotta have it at the right time. I'm not a fucking parent. I don't want to have that conversation. But to Chris's point, and I just want to throw something out there real quick. Okay, if you have kids in your fucking house, you shouldn't be having obnoxiously loud sex. It's fucking stupid. You know, my parents used to do that shit too, bro. And I was like fucking 5 years old. Like, why? Just fuck, it makes me mad.
You're getting at something deep, bro. This is good.
Like you're perverting your child like unconsciously. You know what I mean? Like you should not be having. I mean, okay, you're a human being. Obviously, you want to fuck. I get that. But if you know that you have obnoxiously loud sex, why the fuck are you doing that when your kids are home? It's so fucking stupid, dude. I hate that shit. It makes me fucking angry. Like that's something that honestly, dog, like I can't really forgive my parents for. Keep it real. Because it was fucking dumb. It was retarded. There was no fucking excuse for that. It was ridiculous, bro. And like, you perverted your own child, man. Perversion is like one of the worst sins a human can commit. You know, we look at perverts as like the lowest fucking people in the world. But when you have obnoxiously loud sex in your fucking house, you're doing it to your own child.
Talk about it, bro.
You know what I mean?
Oh, that's good.
It's ridiculous, dude.
That's
I don't
so
understand
true.
why the fuck people don't stop and think about that
That's
shit.
so true.
I mean, okay, you know what, man? Like maybe maybe you guys went out to drink and you got home and you get a little carried away. Okay, fine. But even then, you know, like maybe go get a fucking hotel room or something if you know how it's gonna end, you know. But I think a lot of people don't ever stop to think about how every single fucking thing they do affects their kids. From the music you listen to even how loud you have sex. That affects your child. All that affects your child. Everything you do affects your child, man. And you need to get that through your head, bro. So yeah, I just had to get that out of the way. I'm still really angry with my parents about that, man. But back to Chris's point, yeah, I mean, you as a parent, man, you and you alone can decide when to have that conversation with your child, but make sure that you do it properly. Because I mean, like, you're not gonna go and tell your kid, "Oh yeah, sex is fucking awesome."
Right.
It is, but you don't want to tell them that, you know, because then they're gonna jump into it. So I don't know how to have the conversation. I'm not gonna act like I do. But I do know it's important to have it at the right time and in the right context. And you shouldn't leave it to the schools because they don't even talk about stuff like that. They don't talk about, like, when I took sex ed in school, nobody mentioned how sex is considered sacred across almost every single culture across the globe. Considering sex sacred is a human thing. It's not even like an ideology thing. It's just recently that the world has become so promiscuous, you know? But throughout history, sex has been viewed as sacred. The school is not going to teach anybody that. You got to teach that, man. You got to teach that.
So true, bro.
Yeah, sex is fucking sacred. And you're the only person who can really convey that to your child. You're the only person who can really explain that to your child, man. So the when and the how is completely up to you, but just understand that it needs to be done. So yeah, that's all I got right there.
That's good, brother. We can move on.
What else did you have?
What was the next point you had after?
Hard lives breed hard people. Soft lives breed soft people. That's not my quote. I don't know where I got it from. But you know, my whole life, man, my mom made me feel so fucking terrible about my life. Like my whole life just talked down to me about how lucky I was to have my life, you know. And then maybe at the time of you viewing this, it'll be out. Maybe not. But I'm writing an autobiography, and I have like a whole little performance that I'm doing about my life, and you'll understand. But right now, you're not gonna get it if you listen to this in close to its release date. But you know, I had a pretty rough life, and I didn't know how bad it was until I got older. And my whole life, my mom was just talking down to me about how fucking lucky I was. And then come to find out, if she would have had my life, she probably would have fucking killed herself. You know? And if I had her life, I probably would have did better. And I say that to say, you need to stop and think about how much of you is really a product of your environment and how much of you is born the way that you are. My mom had a hard life, so she became a hard person. I had a soft life, kind of-ish, not really. But I mean, I became, you know, a product of my life. And I really just wish that my mom would have stopped and asked herself, what if Juan had my life? Would he have come out stronger? And what if I had Juan's life? Would I have come out weaker? And I just don't like when parents like compare their fucking lives to their kids like it's a fucking contest or something. It's ridiculous, bro. It's stupid. And so I just want people to stop and think about, if you are a strong person, were you born that strong or did you develop into that strength? And if you are, how do you convey that to your children? And I think that's I think that's where we'll kind of get things fucked up, man. It's like, oh, I don't want my kids to go through what I went through. Everybody who actually cares about their kids says that, right? But we never stop and consider how much of our strength is derived from our experiences.
Right.
You know, we had a hard life and it made us into a strong person. And we don't stop and think about that. So we shield our child from all of these hardships. No, this will never befall my child. And then they come out fucking pussies. And then we ask ourselves why. How did that happen? And we never, and there's another thing, man. I know so many fucking parents that don't take accountability for the way their kids came out. There are so many parents in my life, bro, that just like, oh, that they were just fucked from the start. There's nothing I could do. It's not my fault. It's a lack of accountability. I cannot imagine having a kid come out like shit and not having the accountability on me. Like how can you not associate that with what you did? It's fucking crazy, man. So I say all this to say, strength is developed, not born. You can put your child in a situation where they can develop a lot of strength. But if you fucking don't give credit to your experiences for making you that strong, it's not going to occur to you that you developed your strength. And you're gonna have a fixed mindset. You're born the way that you are rather than that you can develop into something else. And that was a big issue with me and my mom. And she had just always viewed me, she never said it like this, but she had always viewed me as weak rather than that she raised me like shit. You know? Hard lives breed hard people. Soft lives breed soft people. If you want strong children, you have to raise them to develop strength. Now, you don't have to fucking put them through all the terrible shit that you went through. What you really have to do is find how you came down to the conclusions that you did from your experiences and fabricate that in your environment. Like, have them come down to that same conclusion, you know? Like, me personally, bro, like, I'm putting my kids in martial arts from the get-go. Like, you are going to taste failure from a very young age so that you learn to get over it quickly, you know? Because I had to learn that on my own. Nobody fucking taught me about that. Nobody taught me about overcoming failure. Nobody taught me that failing was a part of life. I had to figure that out on my own. My parents never told me anything like that. So, hard lives breed hard people. Soft lives breed soft people. Strong environments breed strong people. Weak environments breed weak people. If your kids come out like shit, it's probably because of you. Keep that in mind, man. You give way too much credit to yourself and not enough to your environment and your development. So, yeah.
Something else with that, Juan, and I'm thinking about our youth, and as our children grow up, they become adolescents, and they get prepared to move out of the household, which is another conversation we can have. I'm thinking about preparing them for that, and instead of preparing them, we're coddling our kids. We're saying, you brought up the phrase right now, I don't want my kids to go through what I went through. Okay. There's no ill intent in that as a parent. There's no ill intent in that. But your children are going to go through their own difficulties. So, okay, they may not go through what you went through. So let's rephrase it from, I don't want my children to go what I went through. Let's rephrase that from, and you mentioned it, drawing on your experiences and coming to the conclusions on how you draw upon your strength. How can I prepare my child, my student, for the hardships they're going to face in their lives?
My student, that's a good one.
Because those hardships are inevitable. None of us are exempt from hardship. None of us are exempt from making our own decisions.
And
right?
the consequences that come with them.
Yes, exactly. So, rephrase it from, I don't want my children to go through what I went through, and rephrase it to, how can I prepare my child, my student, with the strength necessary to face those difficulties, to face those hardships that they are going to face in their own lives. Because I'm not going to always be with them as a parent. I'm not always going to be with my child, right? And what is this thinking? I'm going to mention it now with this thinking in our society. What is this thinking where our child is with us from birth up until the age of 18? What's this thinking, Juan? When our student graduates from high school, what is it thinking as a parent that we see in our culture now? What is it thinking as a parent that we see in our society here in the U.S.?
What do you mean?
Okay. In our society, what is typically expected of
now?
What is typically expected of my high school graduate?
In the past, they were expected to move out and do their own thing, and now I know a bunch of people who live with their parents for a really long time. So I don't know.
Oh, okay. Let's stick with that. And how are those people viewed in our society? How would you?
People who still live with their parents, like
Mm-hmm.
after 18 for long periods of time, like incapable, right?
Right. So there's this. Gosh, there's this just in our society. You mentioned it. The society we live in, the culture we live in. There's an expectation. All right, you're expected to continue secondary education, trade school, military, college, right? Whatever the case.
Some kind of path.
Mm-hmm. So exactly, some kind of path. But if I haven't been prepared for the challenges that I'm going to face on this path, I'm going to be like a sail in the wind. I'm going to be here and there, no clear path, no clear direction.
No direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah, so I think it's just backpedaling a little bit, something I wanted to say. I think the real question before we start talking about this, how do I endow my children with my strength without them having the experiences that I had? I just wanted to say that real quick, throw that out there. But getting back on that, yeah, I mean, it's true, man. I mean, especially, I didn't grow up low income, but I grew up in a low income neighborhood. So I grew up around a lot of people like that. And there's just this benign neglect that goes on, bro. People don't really take care of their kids. They pay for all their shit, and that's it. Character development isn't really like a fucking thing, It's like your parents, like they'll tell you not to do shit, and that's the extent of the parenting.
Right.
It's seriously, man. Like looking back on my life now, my parents were more like benefactors and surrogates more than they were like a driving force in the development of my character.
As a parent should be. Mm-hmm.
As a parent should be.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. They took on the benign neglect route, as did everybody out there, man. The benign neglect route of parenting is the belief that people are born the way that they are, and they're going to come out how they come out, and you don't have any hand in their development. And I think that's like a fucking really fucking horrible way to raise a child, because not everybody can recover from that, and not everybody has what it takes to like find their own way, bro. Some people will live the rest of their lives lost, and most parents don't take accountability for that. And like, I mean, I know so many people in my family that are like in their late 30s and they still live with their parents. And they say, oh, it's the economy. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. And I kind of believed it for a little while. But then, I started going out into the world and I found a bunch of people who were in their late 30s who had their lives put together. And it's like, all I really saw is that one person had someone show them how to be an adult and the other person had to learn on their fucking own. It's stunting. It's stunting, bro, if you don't give your children what they need to be independent. If you want them to find out on their own, they might not. And that's scary. It's horrifying, man. You need to develop character in your kids. Don't expect them just to get it on their own. That's fucking a benign neglect, man. If you don't know what benign neglect means, it's like... So, like, my parents, they made sure that I had food, clothes, and a roof over my head, but never got into my daily life. They never asked me how my day was. They never really like cared to meet my friends or anything like that. They never cared who I was dating or anything like that. We only talked about that stuff if I brought it up. They were never concerned with it. They were not concerned with my development, only my survival. That's benign neglect. And if you raise your kids like that, dude, I mean, you're fucking gambling. You're gambling hard as fuck. And your child's life is a crazy fucking thing to gamble with. You feel me? So, yeah, man, I mean, more than anything, dude, I understand not wanting to throw your little birdie out the nest. I get that. It's horrifying, because what if they don't fly? I understand. But if you've done all that you can to prepare them to fly, then pushing them out the nest shouldn't be that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. I think more than anything, a parent's job is to develop an independent character within their kids. Why would you want a fucking forever baby? That's so strange to me that people are okay with that, like forever having a child who's dependent upon them. There's something evil about that. There's something fucking dark about that I can't really put my finger on. It's almost as though those parents want their kids as pets rather than like an independent fucking person with fucking agency, It's very strange, man. It's very strange. I say all that to say, you need to develop a sense of independence in your child. They need to be independent from you. They can't be on your fucking leg for the rest of their life. The sooner that they can stand on their own 2 feet, the better of a parent you are. Honestly. Honestly, bro. And that's maturity, dude. I mean, it's really just figuring out how to accelerate maturity in your child so they can, survive on their own. If your kids can't survive on their own, they're either like it's a special situation or you failed as a parent. To be honest. I can't survive on my own, by the way. It's not like I'm talking out of turn.
And from my perspective, Juan, and this is my opinion, I don't have the stats on this. I would say, I had touched on this earlier. I would say the majority of students who are graduating from high school are not having that emotional intelligence being, because we talked about emotional intelligence a lot and emotional immaturity.
Mm-hmm. Very important.
So yeah, so you mentioned character development. I think there's a lack of integration in curriculum in schools, and then with that said, there's a lack of character development in our high school students. And so then, this is my opinion again, from what I see, they're expected to figure it out. When the parents have been leaving it to the schools to teach, the government to teach.
And that's such a
for the government or teachers to help their students figure it out, their kids figure it out.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then when they graduate, okay, now you gotta go figure it out on your own.
Yeah. All right, kid, we taught you everything we can. Get the fuck out of here. Bah, and kick him. Yeah, it's true, dude. I mean,
and then there's that perspective as well.
And then parenting in America is just so fucking difficult, bro. Because if you really think about it, like, you spend more time at work than you do at home if you have a 9 to 5. You know?
Right.
You spend way more time at work than you do at home, and your kid spends way more time at school than they do at home.
Right.
Your family is your fucking coworkers.
It's a disconnect.
Yeah, man. Your family is your coworkers, and your fucking kids' parents, your kids' proxy, are their fucking teachers. You know. So, and it's just, I don't even like living in America at this point. Honestly, I want to leave as soon as I can. But I mean,
that's what I'm saying. We're gonna get rich and we're out of here.
I'm out of here, bro. I'm fucking dipping. I'm gonna go. You know what, dude? What they did to Dubai, I'm gonna make my own country. Watch, Joe. It's gonna be like close to Hawaii or something, bro. Fuck that. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make is
future's bright.
The parenting in America is extraordinarily difficult, and I understand, but you're still expected to try. And it's just this weird fucking just bullshit, that you have to go to work to support everything, and you don't have time for shit else. And then your kid's getting raised in public school. Public schools are fucking horrible. All right, bro. Like, you'll hear about this in my book and in my speech, but I was fucking 5 years old when one of my friends in kindergarten explained what sex was to me. It's 5 years old. That's fucking insane. Like that's public school, bro. That's public school. I remember I was 9 years old, and he was the first bully I ever had, but we're cool now. He came up to me and he's like, "Hey Juan, you know what this sound is?" I said, "No, what is that?" And he said, "It's the sound a girl's butt makes when you fuck her." I'm like, "What the fuck?" I'm like 9 years old.
9.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. Like, public schools are fucking terrible. But what are you gonna do? You gotta go make your money. And just parenting in America is just like an uphill battle, bro. Honestly, like, it's fucked. It's really fucked up. So I say all that to say that it is definitely difficult to be there for your child like that, to be there for their character development, because for them to really develop from your experiences, they have to spend a great deal of time with you, which they're fucking not. Which they're not. They spend more time at school than they do with you if you work a 9 to 5. So, I don't know, man. I mean, you gotta figure that shit out. Where there's a will, there's a way. I know that. I'm not a parent. I don't know. But if I was a parent, hypothetically, and I did have a 9 to 5, hypothetically, and I did have a kid who was going to school, all of my free time would be devoted to making sure that they didn't pick up on no bullshit from school. All my free time would be centered
all
around
that BS out.
Yeah, dude, it would be centered around that. Like, okay, what'd you learn at school today? Okay, that's cool. Well, what did your teacher say about it? Oh, they said that? Okay. Well, what'd your friends say about it? Oh, their parents said that? Oh, okay. Like, you're trying to find out everything that they sponged up today,
yes.
And you're going to take out the bullshit.
Yes.
That's what I would do. But it's a large sacrifice, man, because you're not going to have a lot of you time. And you time is something that's very strange, man. It's something that became huge in my generation. I'm Gen Z, 1998. I'm right there at the tip of it. In my parents' generation, bro, you time wasn't a fucking thing. You didn't have you time.
You time was family time.
Yeah. Yeah, you time wasn't a thing. Now, I see it most with Gen Z moms out here where we live. It's just every fucking weekend. Like, I see single moms drop their parents off with their kids and go out to, like, fucking hook up with like random strangers and shit like that. Like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? You know, having a child is a huge commitment, and if you're not ready to commit to that, you probably should have had an abortion. Just being real.
I don't agree with that, Juan. That's his opinion.
That's why I put my hands up.
Yeah.
That's why I put my hands up like that. Like, man, like, if you're not willing to sacrifice your you time to take the time to actually help your child develop, maybe you should have never been a parent to begin with. Keep it real.
And that's why we're doing what we're doing right now. To make you aware of these types of things and make you reflect on your own childhood and what we talked about in our first question, being a product of your environment.
Yeah, man. Like, seriously, dude, like, Gen Z parents are like some of the worst fucking parents I've ever seen. It's like they think parenting is like a side job or something, or it's like a social media niche, you know? Like, I see so many moms talk about, oh my god, I love being a mom, and then they go and get fucked by some random dude on the weekend, every weekend, you know? It's ridiculous, bro. It's like, if you really want to raise a kid on a 9 to 5 here in America, you don't have you time.
Right.
It's not a thing. And if you're not willing to give up your you time, maybe you shouldn't have been a parent.
And if you're not a parent right now, again, this is why we're doing this. Well, for parents as well, but if you're not a parent, really, really, really take in what Juan is saying right now. Because, I mean, Juan and I can attest to this. We were not making this conscious at one point.
No.
We were living off of impulse. I mean, I remember telling one of my exes when it was really lust, I love you. I love you. I'm in love with you. Right? That's why we can have sex before marriage. I'm in love with you. Right? When
yeah,
it was
like
lust.
you justify it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's God will understand. We're in love.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 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 Okay, but I kind of want to backpedal a little bit on what I said. I'm not saying you can't have you time if you're a parent. I know I jumped to the point. I didn't really stop and think about what I said. You can have you time, man, but you have to understand that comes with a sacrifice. You know, that's time you're taking away from bonding with your child. You know, so I would say maybe like have like vacations planned or something like that. You know what I mean? Like a vacation, and you fucking bring your kids and they have like their favorite uncle or something like that, or somebody that's gonna like maybe take them away from you. I don't know, dude. I'm not saying you can't have you time, but I am saying that you're probably not, you shouldn't be having as much as you do if you're going out every fucking weekend or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so have some you time, man, but just don't overdo it. Don't indulge in it. Understand that you have to raise your fucking kid, dude. That's a full-time job. You don't get to take that time off. And that's why I don't have a kid, because I know that. You feel me? So, yeah. Anything
What
else?
was the last bullet point you had? That was it. We can move on to
I got all mine.
That was solid, bro. Covered a lot of it.
A good take, too, honestly.
Want to give our final takes on this topic?
On parenting?
Parenting, on the outside looking in.
Yeah, okay. You're a parent long before you have a kid. Long before. Okay? You're a parent, honestly, I would go as far to say you're a parent as soon as you come into being, honestly. You know? But obviously, we can't take that level of responsibility for ourselves at that young of an age. But at some point in time, you do have to take responsibility for yourself, and that is when you become your own parent. You are your own parent, and you need to realize that now, if you ever hope of being like any type of good father or mother. You are your own kid. You are your own child. You are your parent. That's where it starts. And you need to ask yourself, am I the kind of person that I would want my child to be? If not, then become that person. And then you need to look around your environment and ask myself, is this the environment that I want my child to be in? If not, then put yourself in the environment you want your child to be in. And honestly, man, parenting is one of the most difficult things that you can ever do. And if you're not ready to embark on that, then you shouldn't have kids. For reals. Like, I think it's better to not have kids than to be a shitty parent and raise shitty people.
Right.
You know? Shitty people usually have shitty fucking parents, man. It's fucked up, but it's just the truth, bro. It's just the fucking truth, man. Like, if you're a shitty person, you're gonna raise shitty people. Straight up. If you have not taken the time to work on yourself and develop and like put yourself in a good environment where you're gonna be a good person, you shouldn't have kids. But let's say hypothetically, and I know a lot of people, you had kids before you were ready, and now you're still a young person, still trying to have fun, and you're stuck with them. You need to ask yourself, what's more important to you, indulging or developing? Because that's the one that your kid is gonna pick. Every time you leave your fucking kid to go out and party, you're telling them, oh, okay, well, mom covets party time. It must be important. And guess what? They're going to be those same fucking people. So if you had a kid before you were ready, or if you had a kid with someone you didn't intend on having a kid with, or like an accident or something like that, I don't know what to tell you, man. I really don't, dude. It's a huge responsibility, bro. It's too late now. You can't go back now. You can't go back in time. You can't change things. I mean, you could give your kid up for adoption, but that's fucking crazy. I mean, you could, but I mean, you're at where you're at, and you can't do anything anymore. This is something one of my mentors taught me, man. Rolling with your play. If you fucked up, fuck it. It's already there. Just roll with it. If you've been like a neglectful parent up until this point, you're already where. Fuck it. Just start improving now. You know, you can't go back in time, but it is what it is. But just start doing better now. There's always time to change. If you have breath, you can change. Seriously. So I would say to all those parents out there who had a kid before they were ready and they're still a kid themselves, understand, man, like there's going to be consequences for choosing all your indulgences over raising your child. And are you prepared to deal with those consequences later on? That's all I would say.
Thank you, Juan. Something Juan had mentioned, and I've mentioned this book to him. It's called Transactional Analysis and Psychotherapy by Eric Burns. And it talks about our child, our adult, and our parent, how we each have it. And it talks about, it comes about when that person matures, right? It doesn't come about by accident, but it's there at birth, how Juan mentioned, right?
Temperament.
The temperament is there at birth. The child, adult, parents, they're at birth. But they just don't have they haven't developed there's that word again, developed. They developed the mental faculties, right? To realize that. So, talking about that, and to add on to what Juan's saying, Juan is 100% right. And this is, again, why we're doing this, for education purposes and to raise awareness, is that there's a maturity level, specifically emotional maturity level, that goes into raising kids, right? So you got to ask yourself, and so Juan mentioned one of Jordan Peterson's 12 rules for life. Treat yourself as someone you're responsible for taking care of. Treat yourself as someone you are responsible for taking care of, right? So if you're neglecting, we're going to stick with emotions. If you're neglecting your own emotions, suppressing your own emotions, or letting your emotions dictate your life, there's a level of maturity that has not been reached. That is necessary to have kids, right? It's not the only thing, but it's the biggest thing, right? More than finances, more than even having, I would say, even a village, Juan, because have you heard the saying, it takes a village to raise a child?
Yeah. Just real quick, man.
But just to sum it up, more than all of that, it's the parent's emotional maturity that gives them the capacity to raise another child in an efficient way, more than money would, more than friends and family would, more than any of those things. It's emotional regulation, right? And so we talked about this earlier. How are you going to help someone regulate their own emotions when you can't even regulate your own?
Seriously.
It's not possible.
It's not. You're trying to save someone drowning while you're drowning. It's not going to work, you know? Yeah. To add on to what Chris said, I grew up financially privileged, like a motherfucker. I had like 4 cars and I haven't paid for a single one. I always had the new video games and never had to worry about clothes or food or anything like that. As far as finances go, I have been blessed my whole life. Well, I will have traded every single thing my parents bought me for a quality connection with my family. That's more valuable than anything you can ever possibly buy me, man. You know, people. I don't think people really understand like what that's worth. Like you can't understand what it's worth until you've been without it. Honestly, dude. Like all my issues in my life are interpersonal with my family, and I would trade every single dollar that was spent on me for like a quality, solid family connection. More than anything, dude, like your kids aren't gonna remember what you bought them. You know, they remember the time that they spent with you. Like my dad's bought me all kinds of
point.
shit. I don't
That's a
remember.
good point.
I don't remember anything my dad fucking bought me. But you know what I remember? I remember being in his Grand National and for whatever fucking reason listening to Cypress Hill. You know what I mean? And like NWA and shit like that, Metallica. I remember that. Those are the moments I remember with my father. I remember sitting down with my father and we would always watch Discovery Channel and History Channel. And that's I love history and I love animals. And I got that directly from my father in the time that I spent with him. You know? We don't remember what our parents bought us. We remember what they did with us. That's what we remember, man. So I would say, outside looking in, I'm not a parent, I don't know, but from my perspective, it seems as though that a quality connection with your child is worth more than anything you could ever buy them. Mm-hmm. So just keep that in mind, bro.
Mm-hmm. There's a great quote by Maya Angelou. She says, "People will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel."
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
so Juan is reading this book. I've read a bit of it. The Body Keeps Score.
Oh,
A feeling
must read.
sticks with you long after the trauma, the incident has occurred, right?
The PTSD is.
Yeah. So it's the feeling that sticks with you. So again, talking about feelings, and I've learned this about myself. You know how I've come to learn about this? Working with kids. I've come to learn feelings are neither right nor wrong. It's how you express them that makes them so. Yeah, so that's important to remember, that your feelings are neither right nor wrong. It's how you make them feel. So your kids, you were once a kid. If something, Juan has mentioned this word, if there's something you haven't reflected on when you were a child or addressed when you were a child, that feeling is going to continue to recur, come up. And it's somatic. You'll feel it. Your body speaks to you. The body keeps score. You'll feel it in your head, shoulders, chest.
It has a mind of its own, man.
Yes. So again, emotional regulation. If it doesn't go addressed, because again, this is good, Juan. None of us are born with the ability to self-regulate. So if we're not teaching this in schools, if we're not developing this as parents in our kids, again, they're going to be a sail in the wind. Emotions dictating their life, being swayed here and there.
Live, bro.
Being swayed here and there, no clear direction.
Fucking sucks. It feels good. Like,
so, let me finish this up. So emotional regulation lends itself to the path, gives you clarity on the path intended for you. Yeah. As opposed to basing it on your feelings. Because if you base your entire life on your feelings,
so horrible. I've been there, bro. It's just terrible, man. You end up in some really fucked up places, bro. It's terrible. Because, I mean, if you base your life on your feelings, why wouldn't you just chase a high? You know? Like, when I based my life on my feelings, dude, I was drinking and smoking and, like, sleeping with random strangers, like, near daily. You know what I mean? Like, it was... I wasn't sleeping with girls, like, daily. But, I mean, you get the point I'm trying to make. It was just nothing but debauchery constantly. And I ended up around some of, like, the worst kind of fucking people. Because those are the people that follow their emotions. That's a slippery slope, bro. And it has a very dark destination, man. It's impulsivity. It's debauchery. You know, you're hedonistic. Hedonism has a very dark ending. Alright? And here's the thing about it. The road never really ends. You get to an ending. You hit your rock bottom when you get too hedonistic, man. Beware of hedonism, bro. Beware of hedonism. Cure it in yourself, or you'll watch it in your kids.
That's good, Juan. So you made me make a great connection right now. So where emotional regulation goes unchecked, undeveloped, and that's where people start to indulge, chase the high. Only do what makes me feel good.
Because there's nothing above it.
Right? There's nothing above it.
Yeah.
Right? That feel good feeling. I learned this one. And there's a lot of science. There's a lot of neuroscience behind it and the brain chemistry, and it's dopamine. Dopamine. So there's an example with drugs, bro. Heroin expands this part in your brain where there's nothing else in the world that will make you feel as good as heroin, bro. So that's pleasure. That's pleasure that you're seeking.
It's like
And that comes about when there's no emotional regulation. It's going unchecked. It's undeveloped. And then it can even work the other way, where you restrict yourself, with the opposite of indulgence, where you restrict yourself, right? You keep yourself so tight, you suppress all these feelings.
You're a tight ass.
Mm-hmm.
No, I get it, yeah. It's true. It's all about finding that balance, man. That balance between development and, relaxing. Relaxing too much is hedonism. Being too focused on development, which I think you can be, you start laying down like unreal expectations for yourself. It can be very restricting, and it could be like suffocating, honestly.
I just thought of something right now, Juan. I'm listening to you. Someone once asked me, what's the worst piece of advice that you ever got? And I just thought about it now, talking about parenting. I've heard my parents say this, my mom specifically, and I'm sure other parents say this, and I'm sure you've heard other parents say this, that I only want you to be happy. I only want you to be happy.
Fuck no.
That is the worst piece of advice you can give your kids, right? Because they're going to be seeking anything and everything that's going to make them feel good. No discomfort, no inconvenience, right? Where the strength is had is in those areas, in discomfort, in inconvenience. That's where strength, character is developed.
Comfort and growth can't coexist. For shit. I don't want my kids to be happy. I want them to be capable.
Yes.
That's what I want.
Ooh, that's a bar. That's a bar, y'all. Write that down. Say that again.
I don't want my kids to be happy. I want them to be capable. And then they'll make their fucking self happy.
Facts.
Yeah, man. Anything else you want to say?
That's it, bro.
Alright,
Dude,
so
that was a mic drop right there.
G&D. Stay tuned.
Peace.
Now, one thing that we want to be fully transparent about with you.
The framework and structure you heard here today was developed with the assistance of Claude AI.
The ideas, the mission, and the conversation are entirely ours.
But we believe in being honest with the people in this room about every tool we use to serve you.
Because that is what self-mastery looks like when actually practiced.
Using every resource available to you with integrity.
And before we go, if anything landed with you and lingered longer than you expected, talk about it in the comments. We want to hear about that.
And if someone came to mind while you were listening, someone who needs to find this room, send it to them. Not for us, for them.
And if you're still here, still listening, still a part of this room,
Subscribe. Not because we asked, because you don't want to miss what's next. And always remember, it gets better, but not if you quit. Keep going.